Hello, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Adam Wolf, Full Spectrum Studios here, and it's been a while since I've made any kind of different video. But I have felt the urge to make this video in particular just because it's kind of personal to me in a matter of speaking, or in a manner of speaking, just because it has to do with one of the games that I hold very close to my heart, mostly because it was a game I played probably not as many hours as either some of you or just in general most people, but I still enjoyed and remember the old days of this game, Overwatch, obviously, very clearly. You can see it on the screen here. And to say that I'm disappointed is a grave understatement. And I know I'm a little bit behind on these, but I mean, I have a day job and everything. I got to take care of regular life, so I can't really, and I've got my audiobook and everything to work on. So, please excuse my tardiness with this subject, but I think this is a subject that I can pretty much talk about at any point. And it's really just the fact that, as many of you already probably know, the PvE aspect of Overwatch 2, the whole reason that Overwatch 2 even exists, is canceled. So the hero mode and talent tree progression and hero progression that we came to understand from 2019 Overwatch Overwatch 2 announcement, has been completely scrapped. Blizzard is no stranger to scrapping projects that are in full swing, in full development, only to realize that either they couldn't do it or it wasn't up to their standards. And these days, their standards are pretty low, in my opinion, so it doesn't really speak volumes about their integrity as a company anymore to say that it doesn't live up to their standards. Their standards are pretty pathetic these days, and I can't really hide my disdain for the decision, just because while I actively still play Overwatch 2, I'm going to call it Overwatch because that's what it is. It's Overwatch. While I still play Overwatch and still questioning whether I should or not, it doesn't make their decisions any less impactful. Now, it just kind of blows my mind to a point where they could literally be so far in development that they could just say forget it and spend millions of dollars developing a mode that they promised and made the whole basis for re-releasing Overwatch, that they just said forget it. And it's unbelievable. It's an unbelievable waste of time and money. What have they been doing for the last 4 years? What have they been doing? Working on it only to scrap it and then say, oh, but don't worry, there will be PvE things in Overwatch, which we've already had. We've had the major holiday events and stuff like that, and the anniversary event and everything like that. So it's not really something miraculous to say that you'll have PvE, just not in the way that you expected. Well, what we expected is what you announced. And I think we'll go over that announcement right now. Just give me a second, I gotta pull it up. Okay, so this took place at BlizzCon 2019.
What y'all doing? You having fun? BlizzCon is so edgy this year. I wore black. It's kind of like dad edgy because it's got a giant pink bunny on it. So I didn't quite get there. So I feel like you and I, and you know who I'm talking to, I feel like you and I have been together for a very long time. Like, we remember when WoW Classic used to be.
This was only 3 years after Overwatch released. 2016 was Overwatch's release, and it has been huge up to this point.
Be called WoW. We've been around together. I have something. Don't ever say that. I have something that I'm very embarrassed to tell you now, and I'm only telling you because we have this close relationship. I totally forget what I'm supposed to say right now. Like, I don't have a clue.
The best part about Jeff Kaplan, and I'm going to be stopping periodically to kind of just break things up here, is the fact that he was real with us. Like, he was straightforward. He understood his audience. He knew what we wanted. And that's the reason why he was on stage right now announcing Overwatch 2 as a expansion to Overwatch as a general sense, or in a general sense, because Overwatch was the PvP side of everything, and then Overwatch 2 was supposed to be this campaign, this story behind the characters, which we've gotten so many iterations of over the years, you know, comic books and cinematics and stuff like that. Shout out to the Reinhardt cinematic, best cinematic they ever released. So, you know, this Overwatch PvE or Overwatch 2 PvE side of things was supposed to be the culmination of all these stories put together.
Just drew a blank. Anybody who knows me knows I can just ramble forever about anything. But luckily, I can, from the internet, I can read everything I'm supposed to say from the last week. Thank you so much for helping me with that. Oh my gosh. That was so sweet.
This video might be
the team really appreciate it. Actually, if you want to know how game developers feel about leaks, the WoW team made a cinematic called Shadowlands, and picture my face where Sylvanas' was, and then instead of that helmet, it was my cell phone. And that's, yeah. I should probably talk about Overwatch now. I'm just digging a hole, you know?
You see how personable he is? You see how, if that is a word that I can use in this situation, you see how, like, engaged with the audience, how real he is with the audience, you know? And keep in mind, Jeff Kaplan, if you don't know, left Blizzard in the middle of Overwatch 2's development because, like Mike Morhaime, he saw the writing on the wall and he said, I'm out, because this is turning into a crapshoot of a development cycle.
So a very dear friend of mine 5 years ago on this stage, almost to this very day, a gentleman by the name of Chris Metzen. And let him hear it. He's watching with us right now. Chris came out 5 years ago on this stage, and he said it's time for a new adventure, and he wanted to take us all with him. And he came out and he announced Overwatch, and it was one of the most special moments of my life.
Chris Metzen left before.
And the women and men who work on Overwatch have been working so hard to make something very special. And today they'd like to dedicate that to you. So please enjoy.
And this is the original official release trailer of Overwatch, or at least the story trailer.
Winston?
What's on your mind, May?
Do we have enough people for this mission?
As long as we stick together, we'll be fine. If you're going to show, now would be a good time.
Attention, this is your captain speaking. We are on final approach to Paris.
That's our cue.
You may now power on your electronic devices. Weather is mostly cloudy, with a 100% chance of null sector invasion. Winston, clear as a spot to land. We'll be right behind you.
You better be.
Why is null sector attacking now?
I don't know, May. But the people down there need help. And right now, we are all they've got. Bonjour, officer. We're here to help.
C'était un singe?
Good work, May.
Thanks! Watch your back!
Get the civilians to the ship.
You got it!
What was that?
Take cover!
Meg, stay with me! Winston!
May,
She needs help. We can't stay here.
Tracer, get everyone out of here. I'll hold the line.
But you said to stick together.
Don't worry. I'll be right behind you.
You'd better be.
Genji!
Yes! The cavalry's here! Hello, Winston!
Echo!
Let's get you back in the fight. Interlock shield! How are we going to stop this thing?
May, your backpack!
That could work! Trissa, pulse bomb! Here you go!
This is getting hot!
Ready!
Go on!
Right!
Victory is ours, my friends!
Hi, Lena. Brigitte? Oh my gosh, you've grown! Oh, everyone, this is May.
Hi, everyone.
Nice to meet you.
Reinhardt.
Good to have you on board.
Thank you.
Monsieur, does this mean Overwatch is back?
Yes. Yes, we are.
Did you like it? Did you enjoy? Awesome. On behalf of the Overwatch team, I am extremely proud and excited to finally and officially announce Overwatch 2. Now, I know you have a lot of questions, but we always feel like our games speak for themselves, so let's take a look at the gameplay and then we'll talk.
Okay, so as you can see, I mean, it was just a cinematic, and they show gameplay and everything like that. But the bottom line is that there was feeling behind it. There was passion. And I had just come to this realization while I was watching that trailer again. The fact that the voice actors now have wasted their time doing the cinematic, doing the voiceover for these characters. Now, they've got the voiceovers done, but who knows? Because this wasn't even mentioned. Who knows how far into production they were? This is 2019, so we have to think from 2019 to now. The voice actors have probably spent many hours and months on doing lines for these characters, thinking that there was going to be this whole thing, this whole backstory to these characters, and that, you know, people were going to be able to experience their particular characters in a different light, and only to just be snuffed out at the end for reasons of greed, corporate greed. You know, that's my thought on this. They say, and you know, we'll watch the interview, but my thought is that it was just purely the fact that there wasn't enough money in putting out a single player component, and this wasn't going to be a free thing. This was going to be a paid single player experience, or co-op, if you want to put it bluntly. It was a co-op experience, but it was going to be the PvE experience that we all wanted from Overwatch. You know, these seasonal things are fun and everything. I don't mind doing them because they're a nice little time to kind of shut your brain off and just grind away. Halloween was one of my favorites, but the problem is that there was only so much story that they could tell in these experiences. And this single player / co-op experience, the story, was going to be the point at which we could really learn about the characters and really learn about Overwatch as a organization. And so that's what this 2 was tacked on for, was because, you know, Overwatch was only ever seen as PvP, whereas Overwatch 2 would be, hey, here's the story for you, instead of just being in comic books and everything like that. So before we get into this, you know, Jared Nessis is the executive producer on Overwatch, and as you can see, he's had a few tweets go out, and the reception has been less than stellar. But he says, I've seen speculation that the changes to PvE scope on Overwatch 2 are related to Blizzard's RTO policy. I'm not entirely sure what that stands for. For the record, that isn't true. Managing PvE and PvP development simultaneously has been a challenge for the team for years. It's less exciting headline, or it's a less exciting headline, but it's reality. We'll go into a bit more historical detail in the next director's take. I hope that the additional context can shed some light on why we made this decision. And this is the director's highlight that I believe he's talking about with Matt MRX Morello. I believe he's been a commentator on Overwatch for many years, and this is on the official Overwatch YouTube channel. And they go over what they're, the situation and what they're going to be doing with Overwatch. And obviously, I'll be stopping the video to talk about my thoughts on the situation as we go along. But let's take a look at this.
Mr. X,
I have seen some parts of this, but I stopped watching in the middle. I think I was watching Asmongold do his reaction, but then I said, you know what? I'm going to make my own video on this.
And by some special guests, it's game director Aaron Keller and executive producer Jared Noose joining me here on.
Keep in mind, this is the guy that replaced Jeff Kaplan. This was the person that Jeff Kaplan specifically spoke for when telling us who was going to be left in charge of this franchise. And this is the guy he had full confidence in, and he has proven to be nothing but. He's been proven to be anything but a reasonable successor, in my opinion.
On Dev Chat, how are you guys doing?
Hey, Matt, doing great. Thank you so much for having us today.
Wonderful. Thank you for having us on the show.
Oh, no problem. And Jared, I think I want to start with you. Is you have been tweeting a lot lately, tweeting about a roadmap, saying it's coming mid-May. It's been on my.
And of course, as usual, all these companies have got to have a roadmap. They got to have this roadmap that outlines things that they may or may not be able to hit, depending on production. And I think this needs to stop. This is a thing in the industry that needs to stop existing, because you cannot predict what happens during production. You can't. It's just not feasible. And to give your customers an idea, because that's all it is, it's an idea of what may or may not happen within the months to come, is inconsiderate of the expectations set forth by development, by the company itself. You can say that you'll get this done by such and such a time, but we all know the truth that that particular thing that you said was going to be done by that certain time may not actually be done by that certain time. And I think it's very inconsiderate of your consumers or to be telling that to your consumers when you absolutely have no idea. Anything could come up at any time. Game development is extremely volatile. And if you say definitively that something should happen by a certain month, you should be held accountable for your actions.
Timeline a lot.
I do have an update. We're going to run through the roadmap today. We're going to talk about what's coming in future seasons. We're going to talk a bit about PvE. And I think to kick us off, I wanted to ask Aaron to give us a little bit of a history lesson and some context.
Yeah, you got it. So we announced Overwatch 2 in 2019, and a part of that presentation was about this always-on, deeply replayable PvE experience. And as work slowly continued.
Okay, so I think he might mention it soon, but he's talking about something similar to Diablo 3, where you had the Nephilim rifts, the greater rifts, and stuff like that. Stuff that is replayable to grind out gear, to grind out, in this case, hero levels and talents and stuff like that. So he's talking about something that's ultimately replayable, like a zombie shooter or something like that.
On Overwatch 2, we began to pull more and more of our focus and energy away from the live game and all of the people that were playing it. We had players that were excited to be playing that game, and they just wanted more of it. So we had a difficult choice to make. We could continue working on our original vision for Overwatch 2 without a definitive end date in sight.
Which they should have. They should have buckled down, swallowed their pride, and delivered what they promised.
Or change our strategy and get something in front of players sooner. We chose the latter, and we released Overwatch 2 last October with new heroes, new maps, new modes, and regular seasonal updates.
New mode. Mode, not modes. Okay, and I actually surprisingly stopped it on probably the perfect point here. They released this new PvEVP mode called Star Watch, and I'm sure they'll go over that. We'll probably go over that in a short bit here, but in my opinion, it is not PvE material.
But more than that, we shifted our values for how we want to develop the game. No longer would we store content up for really big releases and leave the game sort of languishing on the side. Now we made a commitment to always prioritize the live game and all of the people playing it, and to devote our development efforts there. This game is nothing without all of you.
Notice he said always devote our time to the live game, the live service game. What he should have said is live service, because that is now Blizzard's focus. When they used to be about telling a great story and having a multiplayer element to those games, Diablo, StarCraft, World of Warcraft. It is now, don't forget World of Warcraft, Warcraft in general, because that's where World of Warcraft came from. But Warcraft had a single player element and a multiplayer element. StarCraft had a single player element and a multiplayer element. Okay. Diablo had a single player element and a multiplayer element. It's this pattern that they used to have. Now, listen to what he said. Devote our time to the live service element, or the service element, which means they have completely ignored and decided that monetarily making sure that the live end of the game is more important than actually being a decent storyteller, which is what they thrived on in the past.
Yeah, and I really can't say enough about how much we've learned over the past 8 months or so. And more importantly, we've taken that learning and we've put it back into the game. So as early as Season 2, I think you start seeing some updates we've made based on your feedback and based on what we've learned. We've been changing all of our systems. We've been adjusting hero balance way more frequently, constantly revisiting the road.
Okay, he says adjusting hero balance way more frequently. The wrong heroes, if I might add. Ramatra is still overpowered as hell, and there are certain characters that need to be buffed, but they haven't touched those characters at all. So, have they really spent any development time? Maybe a little, but not to the right areas. And that's my issue with this whole situation, is what have they been doing for the last 4 years, developing the single player game?
Map behind the scenes to make sure that what we're planning to deliver is going to be great for everyone out there. And that really has been an awesome experience for us. And partially it's because we feel like we're able to deliver a better game to all of you. And partially it's because we hope that you're enjoying it more than previously, when the original game was kind of slowing down a little bit in development. But at the same time, development on the PvE experience really hasn't made the progress that we would have hoped. The team has created a bunch of amazing content. So, there's awesome missions that are really exciting. There's brand new enemies that are super fun to fight, and some truly great and ridiculous hero talents. But unfortunately, the effort required to pull all of that together into a Blizzard quality experience that we can ship to you is huge. And there really is no end in sight, or defined kind of end date where we can put that out into the world. And so we're left with another difficult choice. Do we continue to pour all that effort into PvE, hoping that we can land it at some point in the future? Or do we stick with this set of values that we've aligned on and focus on the live game and focus on serving all of you? With everything we've learned about what it takes to operate this game at the level that you deserve, it's clear that we can't deliver on that original vision for PvE that was shown in 2019. What that means is that we won't be delivering that dedicated hero mode with talent trees, that long-term power progression. Those things just aren't in our plans anymore.
Now, notice what he said is that they can't devote that time to the level of Blizzard quality. Well, the level of Blizzard quality has degraded drastically over the last 10 years drastically. You know, their first major folly was Diablo 3 with the real money auction house. That was a total just backfire on their core values as a company from the past. And the fact that he says that we can't devote all our time to PvE and PvP, in my opinion, is a complete lie, because they've done it many times in the past. But keep in mind that they've also given up on their certain franchises in the past. StarCraft 2 being one of the major franchises. StarCraft in general being one of the major franchises that they just gave up on when they realized that the esport wasn't enough money for them. And that's the biggest issue, is that they are money hungry to a fault. And while I can personally recognize that, yeah, I mean, they're a business, they need to make money. At the same time, when they themselves promoted the games that made them money, they made more money. Period. You know, and the worst part is that, do you guys realize how big StarCraft was? Huge. It was huge, especially in the Korean scene. That's where it made its money. But what did Blizzard decide to do instead of actually investing in those scenes? Instead, they decided to go the live service route with Overwatch Original. And then that caused them to completely flip. I blame Bobby Kotick, of course. Bobby Kotick being the fat piece of shit that he is. When they merged with Activision, that was their biggest mistake. That was in 2010, the year that StarCraft 2 was released. And from then on, you could see the change, the shift in Blizzard's direction, in how they viewed their own IP, their own properties. And so, in my opinion, this statement is complete bullshit. For him to sit there as a company that is as massive as they are and say that they don't have the time to devote to single player and multiplayer is a load of horse. And I think he needs to maybe shut his mouth, because they've done it in the past as a smaller team. As an independent developer, they did better than when they were partnered up with Activision. And now they've got more people, probably double the amount of people that they had 10 years ago. And you mean to tell me they don't have enough resources to devote to a single player experience that they promised? Well, then maybe, just maybe, Jared, you probably shouldn't have announced Overwatch 2. You probably should have packaged it as, here's an update to Overwatch, and left it at that. Forget the single player experience. You know what? If you didn't announce it, I bet you people would be less pissed off at you. But you've already done the damage. Jeff Kaplan had to be the bearer of essentially bad news by announcing Overwatch 2, the single player component, and then us finding out 4 years later that you and Aaron Keller have completely f***ed the IP, because you feel as though you don't have the resources to dedicate to this experience. So you lied. You lied. And you're thinking that this is, and I've seen his responses, this is getting ahead of the backlash. This is getting the information out before it gets worse. Too late, Jared. Too f***ing late. You promised something in 2019. This was the reason that you rebranded Overwatch to Overwatch 2, and you can't deliver on it. Whose fault is that? I dare say it's a management issue. Aaron Keller, you are not the proper replacement for Jeff Kaplan. I am sorry. He might have spoken highly of you, but you, as a game director, should know better. And you had the power to continue what Jeff had started with his team. But instead, you bow to these executive producers and say, you know what? You're right. We don't have the resources for this. Bullshit! You people disgust me. And your blatant use of funds that people have devoted to your development. Buying skins. Changing the game so you can no longer earn anything. The only thing you can earn is rank. That's it. You can't earn skins. I would rather you have kept the loot boxes in. Personally. The loot boxes at least gave you something to work for. You didn't have to buy any. You could actually play the game and unlock things for free. But that's also the fact that I already bought the game. Ever since Overwatch 2 became free to play, that's when it died. And I hate myself for loving the game, but I do. I love playing this game. And I would have killed to have a PvE experience like they showed, because it had passion, it had story, it had heart behind it. It had a good element to speak of. The developers, I'm sure, poured their heart and soul into it. And you people, because of your greed, decided that it was better off without it. That's your fault. That's why I keep playing Overwatch 2, because I support the developers. Aaron Keller and Jared Noose can f*** off. You guys are the worst thing that's happened to this franchise. Sorry to tell you, you are not Jeff Kaplan, Aaron Keller. You will never be Jeff Kaplan. And I hope that whatever he does next is astronomical compared to what you've done to his franchise.
And we know that this is going to be disappointing to many of you, which is why we wanted to bring it up before we talked about the roadmap. And to be perfectly honest, it's been really difficult for many of us and a lot of folks on the team who've poured their heart and soul into that stuff.
Going forward, though, rather than doing a big one-time PvE releasing, and rather than pouring all of our efforts into these singular releases, we're planning to make co-op gameplay and co-op experiences just part of our live roadmap. So we want you to be able to experience it more often and with more variety than we had originally announced. We're going to be releasing our first major story-based event featuring a new set of missions, and it'll kick off a brand new story arc for Overwatch. And beyond that, we have a lot more co-op features planned. Some canon and some very not canon. And we just want to give ourselves flexibility to explore the universe of Overwatch and its cast of heroes and villains, as well as just try new things. We're going to continue to find the most exciting ways of bringing new experiences to the running game on a frequent and consistent basis.
Now, the modes that he's talking about as of right now, the first mode that was actually released, and I'll bring it up here, is, of course, Star Watch. This is the first mode of PvE content, and I put that in emphasis because it's not, that they are talking about. Now, when it comes to the PvE content that has been shown in the past, the holiday events, Halloween, Christmas, the anniversary event, they have been purely PvP or PvE. This event is PvEVP. So player versus environment versus player. It's still PvP, but it has extra turrets. That's basically what this is. Now, I played one match of this. Galactic whatever. It's called Star Watch, but it takes place on like the Galactic Imperius or whatever the heck, Imperator, Star Wars Galactic Rescue, through May 23rd. So it's still going on. And as far as I've seen, it's still, I think, roughly about a 5v5, maybe even 6v6, but I think it might be a 5v5 or 4v4 experience that has more elements of PvP to deal with. So you're still facing off another team. However, that defending team, not the attacking team, the defending team has turrets, massive amounts of turrets at their disposal that they can just, they utilize. The turrets are placed around the map. You have to not only deal with those, but also the enemy team. So it's just a PvP game, but it has more crap that you have to deal with as an attacking team. It was a nightmare, and it was completely imbalanced in favor of the defending team. And unless your team is well coordinated, it doesn't matter. You will lose. And it's a dumb addition to the game. It's just a way for them to sell more skins to you, and it's a joke. It's not PvE. This is a PvP mode through and through. There is nothing player versus environment about it. Nothing. It was a waste of development. This is what they're wasting their time on. This is what they're wasting their time on. Do you think the average Overwatch player gives a absolute shit about what the story has to offer? No. They don't care what happens in this fictional universe of Star Watch. Nobody does. They're playing the mode, and I guarantee you the majority of the player base played the mode one time and gave up on it. I certainly did, because it literally has no PvE elements in it. None. Except for the cutscenes. That's it. Waste of time for everybody involved.
Let's bring up that roadmap that Jared was talking about, because Jared.
Okay, so here's the first time this is the first time I've ever seen the roadmap. Okay, they're already outlining season 5, season 6, season 7. I didn't realize we were on season 4. I honestly didn't. Summer games, that's a normal thing. Same thing that's just brought over from Overwatch original. A cinematic reveal, like that's even something that matters. I don't know why that's even on the roadmap. People can't play a cinematic, can they? Mischief and Magic, who knows what that is? I'm sure they'll go over it. A limited time event. What we are looking for as players is more permanent player versus environment co-op things to do. I am, at least. I would love to go into the arcade mode and just see a bunch of co-op stuff I could do. Whether it be a horde type shooter or a game mode or something else. As you can see in season 6, so 2 seasons from now, we're going to be getting story missions. Something that people have actually wanted. This stuff right here better be more permanent. I swear to God, if it's not, there's going to be hell to pay. Not by me, but I'm sure by the greater community. This better be worth playing. Okay, this is what we've been waiting for. This should have been here. Period. And give or take, these seasons last about 3 months or so. We should be seeing this probably towards the end of the year, which is a wait still. Like, what the hell? They said that the PvE mode was going to be coming February this year or something like that. New support hero in season 6. Oh boy. Hero mastery. So I'm not entirely sure what that is. Flashpoint. Pretty sure that was in the original Overwatch, so they're just remastering it. Fire range, player regression system, Overwatch anniversary, and more. 5v5 mini comp season on fire returns. Okay, so this was something that was taken out of the game for some reason, where if you were doing really well, your character would be on fire. Not literally, but like they're like, I'm on fire, and like I'm on fire is like I'm doing really well. They still say that stuff, but your icon would actually be on fire, and people would be able to see who's actually doing really well in the game. that's coming back now. It shouldn't have been taken out of the game in the first place. Creator workshop mode, I guess that's like a, think of like Fortnite creative mode, I guess, maybe. We'll have to see what they say about that. And then season 7 and beyond, they're showing all this stuff. Roadhog rework and all this stuff. He's getting reworked again. That's stupid, but whatever.
There is a ton coming to Overwatch 2 soon.
Yeah, it's kind of ridiculous actually when you see it all laid out like this. Let me just do a quick run through. There's a lot to absorb, and we'll be talking a lot more about this in the coming months. But in season 5, you see us dip our toes into that very non-canonical storytelling that Aaron mentioned. And we're not talking about all the details of what that season is going to be like, but it's going to be a brand new experience with a really cool, very integrated narrative for.
Also, I apologize if there's any if the wind actually ends up making it into the microphone. It is a windy day today. It's a bit overcast. It's unfortunate. I wish it was like a sunny day, but it's a nice cool breeze at least. For
the Battle Pass, a bunch of new features and playable experiences, plus a bunch of returning favorite features. Season 6 is going to be the biggest season we've ever released, and arguably the biggest live release in Overwatch history. A ton of great PvE story content, but also that new support hero, a new permanent game mode that's going to go into unranked and competitive playlists. Season 7 and 8, we have another hero, a tank, coming this time. New control map. There's a ton to look forward to.
I know when I see the roadmap, I like jump from like one side to the other. I'm like, oh, that looks cool, but then what about that? Like, oh wait, well, hold on, what's this?
Matt is, of course, being very generous with his attitude. He has to be. He's a Overwatch announcer, and he has to show enthusiasm. And maybe he really is. Maybe he is enthusiastic about this. I do think that he needs to, obviously, in a professional way, make his disdain known about this decision. But he's not going to, obviously. He's still paid by Blizzard, so he has to be enthusiastic no matter what.
Where I gotta ask you guys, starting with Aaron, what's one of the things that you're most excited about coming to Overwatch 2?
Yeah, I have the same reaction when I look at something like this. It's just so easy to get lost in all of the details. I would like to talk a bit about the story experience that we want to deliver and how we want to kick off this new story arc for Overwatch. That's going to come with a whole new set of missions and cinematics, and it's even going to come with like new story features for the game, like a lore database that players can unlock over time. And then additionally, we're going to be running a PvE event that season with a co-op replayable mission that's going to take place in a new section of King's Row.
But is it going to be permanent? That's my question.
Oh, and then on top of all of that, a new single player version of a PvE experience where players are going to be challenged as individual heroes to run through courses and get the highest score possible. So it's going to challenge aim skill.
Time trials? That's their PvE?
And the way people use abilities in order to be able to get to the top of the leaderboard and compete with friends and everyone else.
Oh, that'll be cool. I can't wait to message you guys and ask why I'm not higher ranked on those leaderboards, but feel free to block me when I do that. Jared, what about you?
Yeah, I'm. My answer is kind of a cheat. When you ask what one thing I'm excited about, it's kind of all of it. Like more specifically, like the thing I'm excited about when I look at the roadmap is that we're finally finding our footing and like really bringing distinctive themes and feels to each one of our seasons, and then in season 6, we're actually going to change the way that we present seasons to players. We're going to give these seasons names and their own identities, and we're going to theme everything around them really tightly.
Yeah, no.
So they're doing a Destiny thing where each season has its own particular name. It's not just season 5, season 6, season 7. It'll be season of the blank. Season of the blank. You know, that's all it is. They're copying. That's what this industry is now. They're copying everything. I understand that it's difficult to come up with an original idea these days, but good lord, man. I'll tell you what, the problem I have with Destiny 2 is that because they're named their own thing, I don't remember what season of The Haunted was. I have absolutely no idea what number season that was. At least with season numbers, I could say, oh, this happened. Oh, this happened. But if they're going to start naming them, it's like, it's going to be Destiny 2 all over again. I don't know. That's a nitpick of mine.
Super cool to be able to see like all different types of content for all different types of players coming, which yeah, this has been a massive update, a ton to look forward to. Thanks for stopping by. Is there anything you guys want to say before we go to the rest of the community?
Yeah, I'd just like to give like a big thank you to all of our players in our community. We've talked a lot today about how our overarching value, our overarching goal for Overwatch development is to always be putting new things out in front of the community and to be supporting the game in the best way that we possibly can. That's what this roadmap is about. It's about showing you all of the work that we're putting into this game. So thank you everyone for playing. Thank you for your commitment to the game and all of the feedback that we've gotten from all of you.
Yeah, couldn't have said it better myself. Thank you to everyone in the community for playing. Thank you for supporting each other. Thank you for supporting our team. Can't wait to hear what you think of everything we have coming. Please do send me, I don't know that I need to ask you, but send me more of your feedback on social, and look forward to seeing you out there.
Yeah, well, thanks again, Aaron and Jared, for stopping by. It's always great chatting. Tons to look forward to. And guys, check out Star Watch in-game now. Get a chance to play that. And
do not check out Star Watch. It's a waste of your time. Now, obviously, you know, Jared, excuse me. How dare I say Jeff? Jared has seen, you know, the responses that people have talked about. You know, this first guy, Harvey, I won't lie, fella, no matter how much content you give, no one will be satisfied. Overwatch 1 had no content for 3 years for PvE. We all had to suck it up for the promise of this enticing campaign to be played, and that's gone. I definitely don't expect anyone who is upset to be satisfied. That doesn't mean they don't deserve more of an explanation, though. But the problem is, Jared, is that your explanation sucks. Your excuse for it not being delivered is pathetic. Now, can I say that this roadmap looks like crap? No. Because like I said, I didn't see this roadmap before. After seeing this roadmap, at least I saw this, and I'm hopeful. That doesn't take away from my anger about what they have done. Now, this means that more people will be able to play it without it being set behind a paywall. Because keep in mind, Overwatch story campaign, whatever you want to call it, was going to be paywalled. It was going to be probably a $60 or $70 game. And at least with this, they're able to let people who wouldn't be able to afford it otherwise be able to play it. There's a plus, okay? There's a plus. I will say that. But I still think that this should have been made apparent to us, especially if they knew it years ago. 2019 is when Overwatch 2 campaign was announced. If they knew before this whole announcement, which was 3 days ago, by the way, it's May 20th. They knew 3 days before, or they said 3 days ahead, or 3 days ago that this was happening. If they knew years before this that this was going to be the direction, they should have said something. And I think the blow would have been lesser. But hey, at least we're getting those story missions now. So I can at least be hopeful about what's going to happen with Overwatch. Now, in my own opinion, of course, I think Overwatch should just be known as Overwatch. No Overwatch 2, because there is no more 2. The campaign was going to be the 2. Now it doesn't exist. This should be gotten rid of. Rebrand. Just do it. Just call it Overwatch, because that's what it is. It's Overwatch. And that's what I will be calling it. That's what I've said many times on stream. I only refer to this as Overwatch now because that's all it is. It's the same game with a minor graphical tweak, and that's it. So let's all agree to disagree and just say that this is Overwatch. There is no Overwatch 2. That doesn't exist now with this announcement. That doesn't exist. It's Overwatch. Okay. So at least I'm hopeful for this. I don't know what the hell this is. Okay. Limited time event. Again, waste of everybody's time. Whatever that is, this is stupid. And this is every year. Happens every year. Season 6 looks more solid, more concrete. This is a limited time season. This is a more permanent season. I'm hoping. Obviously, new support hero, that's permanent. Hero mastery, that'll be interesting to see how that works into the game. Flashpoint coming back, which is nice. I'm pretty sure it's coming back. If I'm not mistaken, I think that is actually a map from OG Overwatch. But this is the big selling point right here. Hopefully this delivers big time, because after this, you need it to. I just want to read some more replies. And then after this whole thing, he says, this Himasha Pereira says, you have lost the trust of the player base. The only way you can earn it. Obviously, English is not his first language. Back is through action. I personally am done waiting for you to take action. I might/will keep track of your progress via news/social media before I ever take a step back in Overwatch. You mentioned that we will get OFC, still be getting some kind of PvE content, just not all we expected. As such, I can imagine then that there's a lot of content, art, prototypes, etc., hidden away from the past few years. Will we ever see any of that, or what could have been? So I think a lot of the, you notice how he hasn't responded. Look at this. Where are his responses? Where are Jared's responses? He said he's looking forward to the replies. This is the only person he's replied to so far. I'm not seeing Jared anywhere here. So that might be an indication of just how much he cannot damage control. He can't. Executive producer or not, he is not doing any damage control, and these people are getting very restless. So his response is subpar, to say the least. And I think that this whole roadmap thing, again, we can't keep them to their word. It's just not going to happen. We have to wait until we see. The sad thing to say, but it is what it is. So to the Overwatch community, I think that we need to play a wait and see approach with this game. The developers cannot be held to their word. Blizzard cannot be held to their word. And Bobby Kotick is a fat f***. So, bottom line is that we just have to wait and see. My thoughts, obviously, have been given on this. Let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. If you're an Overwatch player, what do you think of the direction that they've taken with this franchise? I think they've driven it into the ground, and I don't know if they'll ever recover. I personally will still be playing to support the developers, because the developers have put so much time and effort into this game to make it what it is, that I think I, as a player and a lover of the franchise, owe it to them to at least play their game that they've worked so hard to make. And I feel worse for the voice actors, because they have spent so much time and effort and months of their time and their life to put into these characters, that we owe it to them to at least make it known that we appreciate the hard work they have put in. So I will continue to play this. Personally, I think Diablo 4 is probably the last chance that Blizzard has to impress me. After that, I don't know what I'll do, but you know, I find myself wanting to play these games constantly, so I will not say that I'm going to stop playing any of these games. I will continue to play them in support of the developers, not in protest of the publisher. But let me know what you guys think in the comments down below, and until next time, I'm Adam Wolf, and I'll see you guys later.